kau ada time ni Topo map sekarang aku tak dapat. Tapi aku ingat zaman budak sekolah aku selalu cari kan map dekat
Topo map. Nak jumpa kat mana Topo map?
Sekarang kau kena pejabat tanah ke
Tak,
apa?
dulu kat mana tengok? Tengok kat mana?
Map Atlas complete sure aku ingat lagi. Aku ingat aku zaman budak aku suka tengok
Kat
70s.
Dekat UK Topo map memang you boleh beli. Kat sini Topo map
Tak ada Atlas Malaysia Atlas dulu. Kau buka Topo map. Lepas tu kata
yalah, tapi tu Topo map kecil lah.
tahu tapi still kau tengok dia punya level dia punya gunung kau nampak.
I'm talking about macam UK kan ada ordnance map yang kita boleh beli kan.
Yang besar tu
ordnance map yang very detail yang boleh tunjuk
ordinance map ni kau kena cari. Aku rasa
ordnance
kau kena cari kat pejabat tanah kot sekarang ni.
ordnance map I think restricted, control tak semua orang boleh beli. Kat UK dia memang dia jual, kita boleh beli ordnance map because untuk orang hiking semua, and dia punya graduation ni 10 kaki, so very detail kan. Sini,
yang ini pun aku rasa ada lah. Yang dulu tu aku baca biasa punya kau jumpa Atlas is public. It's not besar punya.
Mungkin tak 10 kaki lah, mungkin
besar
kaki
gini yalah kan. Tapi the detail is yang cakap gold deposit, tin deposit kan. Dia ada kala-kala dulu belajar geografi aku ingat ada lagi lah.
Tak memang geografi dulu, belajar geografi dia cerita lagi kat mana Mars, Lombok
kan. Tapi at that time you can still find it publicly. Sekarang dah tak ada. They start restricting it.
Orang tak minat aku.
Tak, it's not just orang tak minat. There was a time aku tak tahu what is the cut off point. Lepas tu dah tak ada. Okay, I don't know if we should talk about this, tapi I'm just saying it Okay, I give you an example. Gunung Ledang kan. Kau tahu Gunung Ledang, the legend, kau kata ada apa semua kan. Kau tahu tak siapa among the regular visitors over there?
Siapa?
Singaporeans.
Okay.
And these Singaporeans are military trained Singaporeans. Because Singapore tak ada proper jungle. So dia train dia punya military orang kata fitness ke whatever, trekking ke apa, dia orang pergi Johor kan. So this is what I heard from people. After a time they want to start worry sebab these people are studying our topo, and our topo map was available just like that. Right. So I think it has to do with that juga. Dia ada restrict kan, because the neighbours are studying our places. Dia punya kat mana hideout points apa semua, complete topo boleh tengok. Kita Atlas dulu boleh tengok.
But that's, the thing is that topo map, once dia dah dapat lah, pasal benda tu kan berubah lah kan.
Yelah, that what is done is done. Takkan kau nak terus sendiri, orang lain masuk lagi kan. Tapi memang yes, the Singaporeans masuk Johor, especially Gunung Ledang. Dia orang buat training, dia punya jungle survival, and at the same time they got to do the routes. So that's one of the.
Tapi dia orang masuk sebagai civilian lah.
Yelah, camping panjang gunung. Actually kita tak perasan kita dah sampai mana ni?
Nilai
okay.
Itu sebab nilai.
Sebenarnya very interesting. You combine two knowledge, sejarah dengan geografi. And then kita punya plan jalan ni, kita akan pergi daripada Kuala Sungai Muar, tengok sendiri macam mana besar sampai dia kecil. And then dah sampai Muar satu benda special satu tempat, the whole
sate
Malaysia.
Bagi.
Yes, sate makan bagi.
Itu wajib, hari kita kena cari sate for breakfast.
By the way, I'm Muarian. I was born in Muar.
Padan lah, semangat macam
Memang lah.
Tapi sejarah ni kan, kita tengok dekat barat pun dia orang sekarang ni ada masalah dengan sejarah sebenarnya. Pasal Western archaeology would like to limit the history of modern civilization to about 2,500 to 3,000 years. But whereas bukti-bukti lah in terms of macam the latest one yang besar finding ialah kat Turkey lah, Göbekli Tepe kan, which dated to all the way back to mungkin 13,000 years. So which means that Göbekli Tepe was probably already there 11 or 10,000 BC kan, which puts a lot of things into question lah. Pasal Göbekli Tepe is a very large complex. Sekarang ni yang dah buka tu maybe around 5% je katanya. And and that's the size of a small town. And batu-batu besar tu memerlukan organisation lah nak buat. Dia tak boleh. Of course ada archaeologists yang cakap hunter-gatherers built it, tapi that argument kita orang biasa pun tak make sense kan. Hunter-gatherers tak ada organisation dan tak ada access time or manpower to build something frivolous macam tu kan. So a lot of things are being brought into question right now. So sejarah ni it's almost as if kita lupa kat mana mula dia dan kita tak nak ingat, ataupun maybe the current crop of archaeologists tu because dah diajar certain dates dan susah dia orang nak overcome those dates, you know. Dia macam dogmatic lah jadinya kan. So it's quite interesting how macam sebagai contohnya the Big Flood kan. Almost all communities around the world ada history Big Flood tu, except for very few communities yang tak ada history of the Big Flood lah kan. And dia benda tu Big Flood ni, masalahnya apparently lah is that because it is biblical dalam kitab Injil, jadi saintis macam ataupun mereka-mereka yang tumpukan kepada sains ni macam terasa terpaksa tolak sebarang rujukan kepada banjir besar. Tak kira lah sama ada apa punca banjir besar tu pun, dia macam tak nak apa-apa pun jangan cuba nak corroboratekan dengan the secret text kan. So tu menjadi masalah lah. So in one sense they are also having a close mind lah, nak tolak anything else yang tak bukan saja tak selari dengan dia orang, tapi apa saja yang mungkin membuktikan ada jalan lain kan. So that is quite interesting. So now kat sini pun kita dah mula nampak sejarah yang mungkin lebih lama lagi. So saya harap ni not our last road trip lah. Lepas ni kita boleh pergi lagi different kind of road trip and we'll see apa lagi kita boleh.
Okay, on that note, you talking about sejarah yang lebih lama Okay, pada saya bukan soal sejarah lebih lama, sebab kalau ikut saintis dia kata the universe was created 5 billion years ago, the earth 4.5 billion years ago, mankind, but earlier forms of mankind 4 million years ago, our type of mankind over 200,000 years ago. Jadi 200,000 years ago tu is a very long period. Apa salahnya orang nak civilize dulu kan? Kan? What they are trying to do is to maintain the narrative that we start very primitive. Sebab apa nak kaitkan dengan burung? This is the narrative they try to maintain at all costs. At all costs, I'm telling you. Okay? And it's actually quite recent in the history of knowledge. Sebab apa? Benda ni banyak after 19th century sebenarnya. Darwinism apa semua kan. Early 18th century it was not really accepted. Tapi later, benda ni kalau kita tengok sejarah sains kan, macam Newton 60 something, still Newton percaya pada Bible. Kan?
Many scientists zaman tu masih lagi
during that term they have this term. During that time, they have this term Diluvian.
Apa dia?
The word is Diluvian, tak salah aku. Okay. Diluvian history. The other word is antediluvian ke apa? Aku dah lupa perkataan, tapi dia zaman dulu before they have all this new history yang reject the Bible, they divide history into post flood and before flood. Basically before flood nobody knows much, but after flood yang banyak kan. That's how dulu they divide history. Tapi sekarang ni dia orang, because they want to put that narrative yang kita ni berasal daripada burung kan. So 200,000 tahun dulu still nak belajar buat api semua kan. So kau tengok, kalau 200,000 years ago, macam Gobekli Tepe kan.
Port Valley Mountain.
Okay, 30,000 to compare 200,000 years. Nothing. Kan? Saintis yang cakap 200,000 years ago. Kalau kau tengok biblical, dia kata 5,000 tahun.
So there's an interesting theory being put forward by writer Graham. Dia ni quite controversial lah in archaeology punya circles kan. Because dia proponent of this much older civilization lah. So one of his proposition is that kalau berlaku, katalah sebagai contohnya, ada komet besar melanda bumi dan berlaku kerosakan besar lah kan, nuclear winter ke jadi kalau berlaku benda-benda macam tu, siapa yang akan merana paling teruk sekali? Orang yang akan merana paling teruk sekali orang yang pegang smartphone lah. Maksudnya orang yang so ingrained dengan teknologi kan. Pasal kebanyakan kita yang duduk kat bandar, kalau kata jadi macam tu, adakah kita boleh
survive?
Yes, kesinambung meneruskan kehidupan kan. Pasal kita tak boleh. Pasal kita satu, kita mungkin tak ada skill nak tanam pokok ke, nak bela apa ke, we just don't have the skill. And kita punya skills too specialised yang tak ada no real application lah in terms of survival kan. Tapi siapa yang akan survive? Orang yang tak ada link dengan the most minimal link dengan civilization and technology, orang tu yang akan survive. So dia punya idea is, dia kata bila berlakunya this cataclysm ni, which bila dia orang kira-kira lah, katanya lah mungkin it could have been around 200,000 years ago. So kalau katalah as an example 200,000 years ago, satu komet besar hit the planet and almost wipe out everybody.
And people basically start from primitive back.
Yeah. So siapa yang survive ialah orang-orang yang primitif lah. Kan? So kalau kita tengok macam apa maksud dia? Ada ke macam mana boleh jadi macam? Well, sekarang ni pun kat zaman kita hari ni pegang iPhone 11 ni pun ada orang caveman. Betul tak? Yang hidup dia tak lebih sikit je daripada caveman mungkin, ataupun sama je.
Ada
orang-orang yang betul, exactly kan.
Some people choose it.
Exactly. So
saya kan, some people kan kalau dia probably are driven out of society.
Tak, memang dia indigenous people yang memang live on subsistence, dia masih hunter-gatherers.
Tapi how did they get there in the first place kan?
Doesn't matter.
Kita tak tahu lah.
Doesn't matter. What I'm saying is that there are hunter-gatherers now, zaman iPhone. So apalah 200,000 tahun dulu, kalau ada satu teknologi ataupun tamadun yang dah canggih, zaman tu juga akan ada juga orang yang berbeza. Dan bila robohnya tamadun tu, dia orang ni lah yang akan survive.
That is what the Quran says.
So bila kita tengok balik, betul lah kalau segala bukti-bukti ni hilang, apa yang ada tinggal? Dia orang ni mulakan balik macam kosong lah.
Actually this kind of thing zaman budak pun nanti fikir kan.
So ceritanya sekarang kita ni terlalu bangga dengan kita punya teknologi, which is fine. Tapi teknologi kita ni fragile. Kita simpan data on cloud computing. Kita ingatkan boleh tahan berapa lama tahu boleh tahan. Kalau kena hit habis cloud computing, hilang semua data-data gambar yang beribu-ribu, video yang berbilion-bilion jam ni semua akan hilang. Dan tak ada, kalau kata benda tu hard drive ataupun apa tu masih ada pun, generasi akan datang boleh ke baca? Mungkin dia tak faham kan. Tapi kalau masuk dalam tanah, besi mereput, hilang habis je. All the optical drive, CD, DVD, ROM itu semua kejap je, 5 tahun 10 tahun dah run up, dah tak boleh nak baca dah. Jadi kalau kita fikirkan lah kan, katalah ada satu tamadun dulu, dia nak sampaikan apa-apalah yang dia nak perlu sampaikan, yang mungkin dia rasa penting for future generation. Ada satu cara paling mudah ialah menggunakan batu. That is why kita ada a lot of large stone monuments dulu kan. So mungkinkah tamadun dah sampai ke satu tahap yang dia boleh fikir beribu tahun ke depan?
Bukan mungkin, memang.
I mean, kita cakap mungkin pasal mainstream archaeology still resist the idea kan? So kita cakap mungkin
dia resist because apa, there are people out there who controls the curriculum, who maintains. In order to be scientific, you must believe the evolution. You must from primitive and then you so-called advanced. Jadi sekarang ni
tapi sebenarnya pun kalau kata you nak maintain benda tu pun, it's still not a problem. Pasal you can just say rise and fall of civilization. It's still not a problem kan. But it's just mungkin lah, like it's been suggested that they just reject it because the cerita of the big flood, of the cataclysm ni is mentioned in sacred text. It's mentioned in the Bible, it's mentioned in maybe I don't know whether the Torah has it or not, but it's mentioned in the Quran, and in most traditional cultures, tak kira lah dekat Afrika ke Amerika Selatan kan, semua ada cerita banjir besar ni. So dia macam tak boleh nak terima yang ada alternative narrative.
Kau ingat tak that movie, was it yang apa nama, I can't remember the title offhand right now, tapi bumi kena asteroid pecah, lepas tu punya dia standby ARX, kapal besar. Apa nama cerita?
Ya, apa nama
2012
cerita? Something like that lah.
So imagine they have that idea and they build a movie around that, kan? A cataclysmic event, and they only standby with ARX, kan? Of course people could say, oh ini based on the Noah's Ark kan, tapi see, that's the thing kan, sebab kita are luckily man of faith juga, kan? When you are man of faith, dia macam tadilah there are things which currently you can find according to your apa nama orang kata rational knowledge. Sometimes you have to refer to mystical means, and then you connect the dots, kan? Jadi macam okay, when we are men of faith, kita baca things biblical, kita baca Quran, but in terms of technical term we call it biblical, kan? That means it's from text, it's not from rational knowledge. Okay, kalau kau baca kan, in dalam Bible aku tak tahu, setahu aku tak ada story dalam kita punya Quran. Nabi Adam kan, memang dah cakap he's going to be created to be caliph on earth, khalifah. Okay, to be caliph on earth, dia kan, bila kata khalifah, that means dia boleh control lah, dia boleh control anything else, sebab dia khalifah. Macam dia nak control everything else? Takkan dia baru nak belajar buat api kan? This is the narrative kan, the evolution. Orang macam beruk, lepas tu dia learn to walk upright, lepas tu baru nak pakai baju, baru nak buat api apa semua. Where else? Dalam sacred text, no, dia punya knowledge dah ada dah. Kan, they were equipped. Nabi Adam dah diajar ilmu nama-nama yang apa, even malaikat pun tak tahu benda.
Kalau kita nak cerita, let's say from the perspective of science or science fiction lah, kalau kata kita tengok Nabi Adam tu turun sampai ke bumi, lepas tu dia nak kena populate the planet.
Yes.
Kan? So cerita dia ialah anak dia lah kan. Anak dia. But how can you marry and produce children so quickly? Kan? So either there is a difference in terms of time, ataupun they were actually doing it using genetic manipulation, or doing cloning, or that kind of thing, where they just can produce in a facility just by the numbers kan. Kita tak tahu.
Tak juga, sebab kalau kita follow the text, dia kata 40 anak, 20 pasangan.
Ya, betul.
And then each of them have kan.
Betul. But kan? You see those numbers, to me lah, kenapa 40? Kenapa 40? Is that the minimum number required to create a diversified enough gene pool so that you don't run into problems? You see, so these are things, numbers yang thrown out to us, yang kita assume macam 40. But must be a reason why there's 40.
I don't know.
Because that's what I'm saying, you know. So because there is a minimum number. Scientists pun tahu bila dia nak kira, dia tengok all those cerita science fiction, when they want to go to a new planet, dia ada minimum number orang dia kena bawa kan. So the gene pool has to be big enough so that they tak run into problem.
Okay, we must also remember that Adam lived to be 930 years old.
So again, cerita ni semua kita masih lagi baru nak start faham balik kita punya gene, macam mana the aging process happens, the telomerase and all that, the tail of the genes. So benda tu mungkin kita dah tahu sebelum ni, kita dah lupa. Mungkin the effects of the sun punya ultraviolet is what shortens our genes. Kita tak tahu.
This
kan.
This is the thing
So
kau tengok kan
ni,
dia punya cut off point kalau kau baca before the flood, the popot semua kan hidup very long, very long. Lepas daripada tu baru 300 years tu is considered pendek compared to them. Dia orang hidup 900 1000 tahun kan. Lepas tu start pendek. And the cut off point is the flood. The flood is very important.
So that's why kita tak tahu kan what actually happened masa tu. Now cerita flood ni, bila seorang kata ya ke, boleh ke sampai jadi hancur semua tamadun? Toba exploded, and according to the worst numbers, lepas Toba meletup, tinggal 2,000 orang je. The smallest estimate, not more than 3,000 people survive in the whole planet because of the nuclear winter. So kalau Toba, which is not basically local disaster lah, because it's not interplanetary kan.
Yelah.
Local disaster wipe out almost the entire planet, and itu as quite a distant example because Toba is 70,000 tahun kan. But there's an earlier, a much later example. Now who remembers? Krakatoa. Orang lupa Krakatoa caused nuclear winter. Sampai ke Germany, they suffered bad crop kan. So Krakatoa 18 lebih So in our kiranya such recent memory lah, I'm a great grandfather was alive masa tu kan, and we already noticed, and that's just one volcano. So benda ni memang is so possible lah kan. Cuma
memang
sama ada kita didedahkan dengan all the different perspectives or not.
Kalau kau cakap jadi kan, Danau Toba, Lake Toba kan, you know this actually a caldera. You know how big is Danau Toba? The island inside it is as big as Singapore. Dia punya length is about 90 kilometers, dia punya width 50 kilometers. Now can you imagine if that is a caldera, how big is the mountain? And I did my own calculation based on the usual gradient of volcano about 30 degrees.
Mount Fuji lah.
Mount Fuji kan, usual shape
That's an average lah.
That is a standard orang kata volcano shape kan, 30 degrees accepted. Based on that, Mount Toba should be about 30 plus kilometers.
Basically Everest or
Everest is 8.88 kilometers. So this is about more than 3 times Everest. Okay, now imagine mountain meletup besar macam tu 30 km sampai tinggal caldera.
Wait, nanti jap. So you're assuming the caldera is at the top is that size?
No. Caldera is tapak.
So you're assuming that the base of the mountain is that size? The size
right now. The caldera kan, besar
Caldera is like cauldron lah, whether
cauldron,
the opening
90 kilometers big, 50 kilometers width. Lepas tu tinggi sekarang ni about 5,000 feet.
So
5,000 feet. The lake itself is situated 3,000 feet above sea level. And itu tapak. Kalau kau follow up, so you build a mountain, my calculation is about 33, 34 kilometers high.
Right.
So now imagine.
So basically it has lost about 25,000 feet lah.
So now imagine kalau mountain that big meletup gila babi sampai that is what sort of catastrophe, man?
Yeah.
Kan? Now kita boleh return to where we are going by looking at tsunami of 2004. Tsunami tu kau tahu kan, is earthquake, lepas tu tsunami, and then dia punya wave affected sampai coast of Africa, sampai apa semua and they say that the island of Sumatra lagi sikit je, tak perasan, maybe about a few inches, but still major kan. Now tsunami, that is 9.1. Imagine something like something like whole Mount Toba tadi meletup, macam mana kan? Jempol kita balik kita cerita jalan penarikan yang kata Pasai datang. One time aku bual dengan ketua kampung tu, dia cerita, dia tak dapat cerita mana, wallahualam, dia kata sebenarnya dia orang ni escape from tsunami. Dia orang berhijrah cari tempat baru. During that time something like that dah happen.
Right.
Kan, lepas tu dia punya place devastated, they were just moving and looking for new place, and that's how they arrived there. Yang buka jempol ni. So kita tak tahulah to what the, but see, that's interesting, right? You look at history, you look at geography, so many possibilities.
But Sundaland was bila? Before dia tenggelam, that was the last ice age lah
Ice Age. Dia kalau according to Professor Stephen Oppenheimer yang buat ni, he's a Oxford punya professor who authored the book Eden in the East.
Okay.
The macam mana was what Eden in, aku dah lupa dia punya title. Aku tahu in the East, lepas tu not Lost Continental Fund, that's another book. Eden in the East, aku lupa lah yang title kan. Okay, according to him, there are 3 stages of water flooding or ni kan, water level